Hello, my name is Mr. Gaelic. I am student teaching here at Auten Road Intermediate School and helping out with the music department, and am here today making an instructional video on how to set up either a saxophone or clarinet mouthpiece, ligature, and reed, the three parts that go together that you blow into to make a sound. Now you will need 4 parts of your instrument to do this. The first 3 are the mouthpiece, the ligature, and the reed. The fourth part, depending on which instrument you play, will be either a clarinet barrel or a saxophone neck. Now the clarinet barrel is this, it's the smallest part that goes directly into the mouthpiece. On saxophone, it'll be the neck, which is an elbow-shaped piece, also maybe this long and just a little bit longer, that connects again directly to the mouthpiece. Now when we look at the mouthpiece, the biggest distinction is that a saxophone will not have this cork layer on the bottom. It will sort of look more just like this. Ligatures, however, they're different sizes, but they will be exactly the same from instrument to instrument. You see it's a small ring with typically 2 screws that keep it tight. You can adjust for different levels of tightness. And finally, reeds. Reeds, again, are different sizes for different instruments, but otherwise are the same for both. So hopefully any instruction I give here can help with both instruments. Now, the most important thing to do actually when starting has nothing to do with either the reed or the ligature. What we want to do first is take the mouthpiece and either the barrel or the neck and connect them. Now, it's important for clarinet players and for saxophone players that the cork is greased. On clarinet, the cork will be on the mouthpiece. On saxophone, the cork will be on the neck. But it's important that it's greased so that we're not applying too much pressure. If it's greased, it should go on fairly smoothly, and still it's always better to apply with a slight twist instead of pushing in. You run the risk of bending things if you just apply force. It's always good if there's a little resistance to twist it on to a comfortable part where it's steady. For clarinets, we're going to go just about all the way. For saxophones, you're going to go about as much as you can without going too far and feeling a lot of resistance. Either way, it's important that the mouthpiece is connected to the next joint. The reason for this is because if anything is tight and you've already set up the ligature and you clamp this to put the two on and the reed is here, just by grabbing this, you can maybe bend the metal, or you can offset the reed. And the reed, it's very important that it lines up exactly, so we don't want to set that off. So we might as well start with both parts together. That way we're not grabbing this to put it on anywhere. Now, the next thing you need to know is how the reed fits on a mouthpiece. Now, the reed is shaped like this, and you'll notice that there is a light part and a dark part and a little bit of a crescent between the two. On the other side, you'll see the brand name. This is a Rico, and nothing as far as a distinction between the top and the bottom. This will be the front, and this will be the back. And we'll refer to this part, which is also a bit of a crescent shape on top, the top, and this flat on the bottom, the bottom. Now, what's very important is that we try to limit or avoid entirely touching this tip at all. The tip is extremely thin. It gets thinner as it goes and is very fragile. And if we touch this with anything other than our tongue while we're playing, we run the risk of damaging it, and a damaged reed will severely impact the sound quality. Now, what you'll notice for both saxophone and clarinet is that the tip of the reed and the tip of the mouthpiece are actually fairly similar. This is intentional, as what you're supposed to do is take the flat side of the reed, often with the name on it, and lay that against the flat side of the mouthpiece. You'll notice that this side is curved and this side is flat. We want to take the 2 flat sides and put them together. The flat side has the hole in the top where the air goes through. So we'll take the reed and put it on top like that. Now what's very important is that we see that the curves of the arch of the reed and the mouthpiece are about the same in shape, and we want to line them up so that they're the same with the mouthpiece as well. So that from this end it looks the same, and from the other end we don't see any reed sticking through like that. It's important that it's not crooked in either way and that it's too far or too short. You want to line that up about as exact as we can. Finally, we're going to take the ligature. Now the ligature has typically 2 screws. There might be 1, but that will work fine. And you can slide that on top, depending on the ligature, but most likely the screws will go on the side of this. Now I like to make it fairly loose, that way it's holding the reed, but there's still a little leeway. I can bend this back and forth, up and down, as I adjust. I'm careful not to touch the tip, and I line it up so that the reed is exactly as close as I want it to, as I can to the tip. I make sure that the ligature isn't touching any of the light part of the reed. You remember that there was a lighter part and then a darker part with a crescent shape in between. If we have the ligature tight around this top part, it can actually choke the sound. The reed has to vibrate to make a sound, and it won't be able to if the ligature is there. So we adjust it and we slide this ligature down so there's only a little bit of reed underneath. And then we're going to tighten both screws. It's good to tighten the bottom one first a little bit more, and we want to go again until we feel a lot of resistance. If this is loose while we're playing, then the reed can actually still fall off track a little bit. If it's on the top screw, we can also tighten that really, really snug. Again, it's important that they're tight so that we're not moving that around as we play. If we're touching the instrument or putting it in our mouth, that the reed is nice and secure. And again, that the reed and the mouthpiece are perfectly in line, just like that. And when we apply this to the rest of the instrument, we're grabbing it either by the barrel or the neck. That way, we're not taking it off by grabbing this, because I can easily, even with this tight, if I try, pull this whole thing off. If I were to try pulling the entire mouthpiece off or the entire barrel off, I could end up ruining the setup with the ligature and the reed. So it's important that they're together. And finally, when we're done playing, what we want to do first is take off the ligature and the reed first. If you try to pull off the mouthpiece, you can risk offsetting the reed and the ligature and potentially damaging it. So what I would do is, if I was done, I would have the rest of my clarinet or saxophone put away, the neck or the barrel, and the mouthpiece with its setup, and I'm going to loosen the screws, take the ligature off, and I'm holding the reed there with my thumb. I'm going to put this back in its case, and now I can grab this mouthpiece as tight as I need to. Again, sort of screwing in a twisting motion just in case the cork isn't totally greased up. And now I have all these parts. I can pack away the ligature on the mouthpiece. It doesn't need to be tight, but it will still fit in the mouthpiece case with the ligature on. There will be a special spot where there's room for the screws even to stick out. And the reed, I will back safe in a case, just like this, and the barrel or neck will have its own slot in the instrument case that it can go in. I hope that answers all your questions. Good luck. Thanks.